All right, welcome back to the deep dive. Today, we're taking a close-up look at Mercury. It's the smallest planet in our solar system, and it's also the closest to the sun.
And it's a real oddball.
Yeah, exactly. From its scorching hot surface temperatures to its incredibly long day, Mercury is full of surprises. You sent us some really interesting source material on it, so let's dive right in.
Sounds good.
Okay, so first off, let's talk about where Mercury is in our solar system.
Well, as you mentioned, it's the innermost planet. It orbits the sun at an average distance of about 36 million miles.
36 million miles. That's incredibly close to the sun. I mean, how does anything even survive that close?
It's wild, right? And to make things even more extreme, Mercury's orbit is very elliptical, meaning it's not a perfect circle. At its closest point to the sun, called Perihelion, it's just 29 million miles away.
Oh, wow, that's even closer.
But then, at its farthest point, or Aphelion, it's 43 million miles away.
So that huge difference in distance must have a big impact on Mercury's environment.
Absolutely. Mercury experiences some of the most extreme temperature swings in the solar system. I mean, we're talking 800 degrees Fahrenheit on the day side, and then plummeting to -290 degrees Fahrenheit on the night side. That's a difference of over 1,000 degrees.
You're kidding. That's a huge temperature difference. It must be like a constant oven on one side and a deep freeze on the other.
Pretty much. And to add to the craziness, a year on Mercury, the time it takes to orbit the sun is only 88 Earth days long.
88 days? That's like a blink of an eye compared to our 365-day year.
Yeah, and it zips around the sun at an average speed of 29 miles per second. That makes it the fastest planet in the solar system.
Wow, it really is living life in the fast lane. But here's a real head-scratcher for me. How long is a day on Mercury?
Ah, good question. This is where it gets even weirder. You see, Mercury has this unique 3.2 spin-orbit resonance. This means that for every 3 rotations on its axis, it completes 2 orbits around the sun.
Okay, so what does that mean for a day on Mercury? Like, how long would it feel?
So, if you were standing on Mercury, it would take a whopping 176 Earth days for the sun to rise, set, and rise again, which means a day on Mercury is actually longer than its year. Isn't that wild?
That's mind-blowing. Imagine having a day that lasts twice as long as a year. It's like something straight out of science fiction.
It really is. And to top it off, Mercury has almost 0 axial tilt, meaning it doesn't really have seasons like Earth does.
So forget about spring, summer, autumn, and winter. It's just one long, intense, year-long day on Mercury. All right, moving on. Let's talk about its size and composition. I know it's the smallest planet, but what's it made of?
Right. Mercury is only about 1/3 the width of Earth. Actually, it's only slightly larger than our moon. But despite its small size, it's incredibly dense. In fact, it's the second densest planet in the solar system, after Earth. And this high density comes from its unusually large iron core.
So it's basically a giant ball of metal.
Well, kind of. Its core makes up almost 70% of its total mass, which is huge compared to Earth's core, which is only about 30% of its mass.
That is a big difference. Any theories as to why it's so big?
Scientists believe that early in the solar system's history, Mercury probably suffered a massive impact with another object, and this collision stripped away much of its outer layer, leaving behind the dense iron core. Kind of like a cosmic hit and run, but on a planetary scale.
Wow, I can't even begin to picture a collision that big. So what does the surface of Mercury look like? I mean, given all that, I guess it's pretty beat up.
You're right. Its surface is heavily cratered, very similar to our moon. It's covered in impact craters of all sizes. And one of the most striking features is the Caloris Basin.
Caloris Basin.
Yeah, it's a massive impact crater over 950 miles in diameter.
Whoa, so if it hit today, it would wipe out, like, the entire United States.
Crazy. It's one of the largest impact basins in the entire solar system.
Yeah.
It must have been an absolutely cataclysmic event when whatever created it slammed into Mercury. And besides craters, Mercury also has these vast, smooth plains that were likely formed by volcanic eruptions billions of years ago.
Oh, so there were volcanoes on Mercury.
It seems so. And something else that's fascinating is the presence of these huge cliffs called Scarps. Some of them are hundreds of miles long and over a mile high.
Wait, cliffs on a planet. How did those form?
Well, scientists think they formed as Mercury cooled and contracted over billions of years. The planet essentially shrunk, causing its surface to wrinkle and crack, forming these dramatic scarps, and maybe the most surprising discovery of all. Scientists have found evidence of water ice in some of the permanently shadowed craters near Mercury's poles.
Water ice. On Mercury?
Yeah.
But I thought it was scorching hot.
It is, but because Mercury has almost no tilt to its axis, the floors of some craters at the poles never see sunlight. These craters act like cold traps, preserving the water ice that arrived there via comets or asteroids.
That's amazing. So even on a planet that's basically an inferno, you can find ice hiding in the shadows. Okay, so we've talked about Mercury's orbit, its surface, its composition. What about its atmosphere?
Well, Mercury technically doesn't have a true atmosphere. Instead, it has this very thin, almost negligible layer of gases called an exosphere. It's composed mostly of atoms that have been blasted off the surface by the solar wind and micrometeoroid impacts.
So it's kind of like a thin veil of gas clinging to the planet.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it. And even though it has this weak exosphere, Mercury does have a magnetic field. It's only about 1% as strong as Earth's magnetic field, but it's still there.
So a planet that close to the sun, with such extreme temperatures and barely an atmosphere, you'd think it would be pretty lonely. Does it have any moons or rings?
Nope. It's completely solo, no moons, no rings, just Mercury and its wild ride around the sun.
A true cosmic loner.
Okay.
But we haven't left Mercury completely alone, right? We've sent spacecraft there, right?
That's right. We've had a few missions to Mercury, starting with Mariner 10 in the 1970s. It was the first spacecraft to fly by Mercury, and it gave us our first close-up views of its cratered surface.
And then there was
Messenger, which launched in 2004 and orbited Mercury from 2011 to 2015. Messenger provided us with a wealth of information about Mercury's geology, composition, and magnetic field.
Wow, so we've actually learned a lot about Mercury. But is there more to explore? Are there any missions planned for the future?
Yes, actually. The European Space Agency and the Japanese Aerospace Exploration Agency have a joint mission called BepiColombo, which is currently on its way to Mercury.
And when is that one expected to arrive?
BepiColombo is scheduled to arrive at Mercury in 2025. Its goal is to study Mercury's magnetic field, its magnetosphere, its surface, and its internal structure in even more detail.
Okay, so we're going to keep learning even more about Mercury. But why is this tiny, scorching planet so important to study? What can it tell us about the rest of the solar system, or even the universe?
Well, Mercury is like a time capsule from the early solar system. By studying Mercury, we can learn about the conditions that existed when the planets were forming. Its unusual composition, with that huge iron core, gives us clues about the processes that shaped the inner planets. And its extreme environment, with its intense heat and solar radiation, provides a natural laboratory for studying how planets evolve under such harsh conditions. So Mercury is kind of a key to understanding how terrestrial planets, like Earth, form and evolve. Plus, it's just plain cool.
It's true. The more we learn about it, the more fascinating it gets. All right, so to wrap up, Mercury is the smallest planet in our solar system, and it's also the closest to the sun. It orbits the sun incredibly fast, with a year that's only 88 Earth days long, but its day is actually longer than its year. It has a massive iron core, a heavily cratered surface, and it's home to some of the most extreme temperature swings in the solar system. It's a fascinating planet that continues to surprise us, and we're learning more about it all the time, especially as we continue to explore it. So one last thought for our listeners. Considering we've discovered water ice hiding in the perpetual shadows of Mercury's polar craters, what other unexpected resources or conditions might we find lurking in these extreme planetary environments, both within our solar system and on planets orbiting other stars? Something to ponder. Thanks for listening to The Deep Dive.